Hey everyone, this is a bit of a different video for the channel. I want to talk about a few venues that we've lost in the past couple of months that have been incredibly important to me as a music fan, as a listener, and also as a musician. The first one I want to start with is the furthest away from me, but the most important to my life and career as a musician. It is called Estação Rio Verde in the Vila Madalena neighborhood of Sao Paulo. And they just announced last week that as of this month, January 2021, they will be ceasing all of their activities. Estação Rio Verde, in both a very direct and indirect way, is the reason I still play Brazilian music to this day. In 2010, they sponsored my band Trio Bruxo for our grant to travel to Sao Paulo. We organized a mini tour of Sao Paulo, and with their letter of support, we were able to win our grant to cover some of the airfare and costs related to our trip. Not only did they sponsor the trip in their letter, they made us feel incredibly welcome and at home. They let us rehearse there. Their booker and programmer, Guga Streuter, at the time, took us on a tour of all their facilities and the studio across the street. And they were at the time and remained for the intervening decade an aspirational venue for me. We didn't play at Rio Verde on the tour in 2010, but I always had the dream of taking Trio Bruxo back to Sao Paulo and performing at that venue. If you do a YouTube search for shows at Rio Verde, you will see the top of Sao Paulo's contemporary modern music scene. It is the hub. All three of these venues that I'm going to talk about in this video are hubs of their respective cities. They supported musicians to an incredible degree and were renowned throughout their city and throughout the country. When the announcement was made that Rio Verde was ceasing operation, that was a blow that I took very personally, even though I never played there and I've only been there once. The warmth with which they greeted us and welcomed us, and the role that they played in the Sao Paulo arts community will never be replaced. For me and my experience of Sao Paulo, Rio Verde is what defined a certain section of Vila Madalena's artistic nightlife and artistic identity. And without its presence, I don't feel like it's the same. And Vila Madalena will not feel the same to me whenever I do have the opportunity to go back. The other big loss in the jazz community here in North America were the losses in quick succession of New York's The Jazz Standard on 27th Street and the Blue Whale in Los Angeles. I never played either club, and again, these were aspirational venues for me. I always wanted to do a CD release at the Jazz Standard, and I always wanted to go to LA and see a show at the Blue Whale. Again, both of those clubs, the Blue Whale especially, was a defining club for the contemporary Los Angeles modern jazz scene. I think of Mark DeClivlo's Heritage albums and all the work he did live at the Blue Whale. I think of the Bob Reynolds Guitar Band and all of the videos that have come out filmed at the Blue Whale that have basically defined the contemporary LA scene to people both inside and outside of Los Angeles. And the news that they had closed was really a moment of reckoning for what does this mean to the Los Angeles scene. I haven't spent any time in LA as an adult. I have friends who live there. And of course, there's so many influential musicians who are based out of there now that it's more of an aspirational thing and a feeling of concern more than anything else that I hope something else, once we clear this pandemic, will take its place and will serve the role that it served of being an aspirational, uniting, forceful hub and beacon of creativity on the West Coast. The Jazz Standard in New York, I never played at either, but I saw a couple of incredible shows there. And to me, it was the high water mark of a jazz venue. The music was amazing. The programming was second to none. Anytime my friends were going down to New York, I would say just look at who's playing at the Standard without any reservation or hesitation. The sound was great. The service was impeccable. And it really felt, even though it was kind of on the higher end of New York jazz clubs, it felt you could really feel the hang. I remember going to see Bill McHenry, Henry Grimes, and Andrew Cyrille, and sitting at the same table as Ethan Iverson and Adam Cruz. I remember going to see Bienestan, the project of Aaron Goldberg and Guillermo Klein and Billy Hart, hanging out in the house. It was really a beautiful meeting point for all different sides of the New York contemporary jazz community. I urge anybody watching this video to support your local venues in whatever way you can. If they are also restaurants, and if they are serving food via delivery based on wherever you happen to live, please support them. Please order from them if you are able to. If they are running live streams and paid live streams, support the artists and the venue and buy tickets. I know both Birdland and the entire family of Smalls venues in New York are also in quite dire financial straits. Every city has its venues that define its artistic communities, and they are all struggling right now. If you are in the position to help keep these venues afloat by donations or by ordering food or by buying tickets to their events, whatever your situation is and whatever the opportunities are that the venues are able to provide, please, let's keep these scenes intact so that when we get on the other side of this pandemic, we can still have places to play, places that define the artistic characteristics of these cities, of these neighborhoods, of these artist communities. Thank you to the Jazz Standard, to everybody who worked there for presenting brilliant music. Thank you to everyone at the Blue Whale for everything you did for jazz in LA over 11 years. And a huge final thank you to everybody at Estação Rio Verde in Vila Madalena, Sao Paulo, for welcoming a bunch of 20-something gringos on their first trip to Sao Paulo, for making us feel at home, for pointing a way towards the future of this band in Brazilian music, and for being a leading force of underground culture in Sao Paulo. Go support your local venues, go support your local musicians, do what you can. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.